The Galactic Concordance Council met in the Great Chamber of Eternal Harmony on Ilthar Prime, a shining world of crystal towers and soft blue light from its two suns. 47 ancient alien species sat in perfect rows, their bodies tall and glowing for the Viren, hard-shelled and clicking for the Cathara, or soft and floating for the Veil Thinkers. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, keeping peace with strict laws and strong weapons. Humans were new. After 200 years of careful watching, the Council finally let Earth join as observers only. No real power, no vote, no say in big decisions. Ambassador Elena Voss walked to the center of the huge white floor alone. She was a woman in her late 40s, with short dark hair and calm, strong eyes. She wore the plain gray uniform of United Soul Command. Today she came to ask for more. Full membership and rights to explore and settle in empty star systems where humans needed room to grow. Her voice was clear and steady as she spoke to the silent room. She explained that human colonies were crowded, that children were born faster than ships could carry them to new worlds, and that Earth had followed every rule for 2 centuries without trouble. The High Arbiter Thalvor, leader of the Vereen and the oldest being in the chamber, looked down from his high seat. His skin shone like pale gold, and his long fingers moved slowly on the armrest. He spoke in the smooth, cold language all species used for council meetings. Humans multiply like insects, he said. They spread without thought. The galaxy is balanced. Your kind disturbs that balance. Elena did not shout back. She answered with facts, numbers of ships built, planets already settled peacefully, promises to share technology. She asked only for a small part of the empty sectors near the galactic rim. A low murmur moved through the alien seats. Some younger species, those who traded with humans, nodded quietly. The old ones did not. Thalvor raised one long hand. Enough, he said. The council has heard. The request is denied. Elena took one step forward. Then at least hear our warning. If you block our growth, we will find our own way. We have done it before. That was the wrong thing to say. Thalvor's eyes narrowed to thin lines of light. He gave a small signal. From the side wall, a Cathara enforcer stepped out. The insect warrior was 7 feet tall, covered in black armor that clicked with every move. In his clawed hand he held a pulse lance, a weapon that could burn through steel in one shot. Without warning, the lance fired. A bright white beam struck Elena straight in the chest. She gasped once, her eyes wide with shock, then fell forward. Her body hit the clean white floor hard. Bright red blood poured from the hole in her uniform and spread in a wide circle. The chamber went completely silent. No one moved. The blood looked wrong against the perfect white. Too bright, too alive. Nanites in the floor woke up at once and began to clean it, tiny silver sparks eating the red stain. Thalvor stood slowly. His voice stayed calm. Unnecessary action, he said. The human disrupted order. Her death removes the problem. He looked around at the other delegates. Most nodded, faces blank or satisfied. A few of the younger species looked away, uneasy. Elena's body was lifted by silent drones and carried out through a side door. The floor was white again in less than a minute, as if nothing had happened. The council moved to the next topic. Outside the chamber, the live feed, sent to every human world by old agreement, cut to static. On Earth, in crowded cities and quiet colony domes, billions of people had watched. Parents held their children close. Soldiers in barracks stared at screens. Factory workers stopped their machines. No one screamed. No one cried out loud. But something changed in every human face at the same moment. It was the sound of a very old patience breaking. On Terra, deep under the Ural Mountains, lights came on in rooms no one had entered for decades. Old computers hummed. Maps of the galaxy lit up with red marks. Places the council thought safe, places humans had quietly watched for years. In hidden shipyards beyond Pluto, engines long cold began to warm. Metal arms moved, hull plates clicked into place. Project Erebus, born from lessons of forgotten wars on Earth, opened its eyes. The Council thought one death would teach humans fear. They were wrong. One death had taught humans something much worse: clarity. The galaxy did not know it yet, but the clock had started. The day the Council shed human blood was not the end of trouble. It was the beginning of the end, for them. The silence after Elena Voss died was not loud or angry. It was deep and cold, like the space between stars. On every human world, from the packed megacities of Earth to the frontier domes on distant moons, screens went dark at the same moment. No explosions of rage filled the streets. No fleets jumped to hyperspace in revenge. People simply stopped what they were doing. Workers in factories set down tools and walked away quietly. Families turned off lights and sat together without speaking. Children looked at their parents with questions in their eyes, but received no answers yet. In military bases hidden under mountains and oceans, officers nodded to each other once. Then began the long, careful process they had trained for in secret. United Sol Command sent one short message to all ships and colonies. Protocol Erebus, active. Stand by. That was all. No more words were needed. Across the galaxy, the older species watched and waited for the expected human outburst. The Virian diplomats smiled thin smiles in their glowing halls. The Cathara clicked their mandibles in satisfaction, believing one clean kill had taught the primitives their place. The Council met again the next day as if nothing important had happened. They discussed trade routes, border disputes between lesser species, and the coming harvest on Aelthar Prime. Human absence from meetings was noted, but not worried about. They will return when they calm down, Thalvor said, his voice smooth as polished stone. Primitives always do. Human trade ships that once filled Concordance ports began to leave one by one. They did not rush or fight. They simply undocked, turned, and slipped into the black without a word. Cargo holds stayed half full. Debts went unpaid, but no one chased them. On shared colony worlds, human settlers packed their homes overnight. They left gardens neat, houses clean, machines powered down. They took only what they could carry and vanished into the night. Alien neighbors woke to empty streets and silent factories. Reports came in from every edge of Council space. Humans gone, leaving no mess, no threats, no goodbye. The Council sent scout drones to human border stations. The stations stood empty, lights off, doors open. No traps waited, no mines, just silence. Thalvor called it victory. See, he told the chamber, they understand strength, they retreat. But in the shadows of Sol, far from prying eyes, the real work began. Deep in the Kuiper Belt, where ice rocks drifted in endless dark, hidden shipyards woke up. These were not small repair docks. They were massive rings of steel and carbon, built over decades under the cover of mining claims. Robotic arms that had pretended to harvest ore now welded hull plates thicker than battleship armor. Engines the size of city blocks hummed to life, their gravity fields bending light just enough to hide them from sensors. In underground vaults on Mars and Titan, data cores long sealed, opened. Project Erebus had been born after first contact, when humans first met the Council and saw how the old species looked at them, with pity, with contempt. Engineers, scientists, and soldiers had built a plan for the day appeasement failed. Now that day had come. AI minds that had slept for generations received the activation code from Elena's blood on the chamber floor. They did not feel anger. They felt purpose. One by one, the cores linked. They shared maps of every Council weak point. Supply lines, relay stations, shipyards, breeding worlds. They calculated jump paths through dark space, routes the Council had never mapped, because they thought those regions useless. Human factories on 100 hidden asteroids poured out drones, missiles, armor, and ships. The designs were simple but brutal. No pretty curves, no glowing decorations, just sharp angles, thick plating, and weapons meant to end fights fast. In command bunkers under Earth, admirals who had spent years pretending to be diplomats now wore their true uniforms again. They spoke in low voices about targets, timelines, supply chains. No speeches about honor or revenge. Only cold lists of what must be done. On the colony of New Shanghai, a young engineer named Kai watched his father, a retired fleet captain, stare at the family hollow of Elena's death. The old man did not cry. He only said, "They think we are weak because we waited. They will learn we waited because we are patient." Kai nodded and went back to his workshop, where he helped tune the new stealth drives. Across human space, the same quiet determination spread. People did not talk much about Elena anymore. They did not need to. Her death was not a wound to mourn. It was fuel. It reminded every human of stories their grandparents told. Times when patience ran out, when the quiet ones became the storm. 6 months passed. The Council grew bolder. They claimed human mining claims as abandoned property. They moved fleets into sectors humans had once explored. They laughed at reports of ghost signals in the void. Then, the first patrol vanished. A Cathara destroyer group, 5 ships strong, went to check an old human ore station in the Perseus Arm. They sent their last message, approaching target, no contacts. After that, nothing. No explosion, no debris cloud, just empty space where the ships had been. A small probe arrived days later at the nearest Council relay. It carried no weapons, only a black box. When opened, it played one short message in every Council language, spoken by a calm human voice. "You spilled blood on neutral ground. Blood answers blood." The relay station sent the recording to Aelthar Prime. Thalvor listened once, then ordered it destroyed. But copies had already spread. Younger species who traded with humans began to whisper. Some closed their borders to Council ships. Others quietly moved their own families to safer systems. The old races ignored the warnings. They still believed humans were primitives who could be scared away. They did not understand yet that the silence was not surrender. It was preparation. And the galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity stopped being polite. A first sign that the quiet was over came without noise or warning, just absence. A Concordance patrol of 5 Cathara destroyers, fast and heavily armed, jumped into the Perseus Arm to claim what they called an abandoned human mining station. Their commander sent a routine ping to headquarters. Ships in position, no contacts detected, beginning sweep. Then the link went dead. No battle flashes lit the sensors of nearby relays. No escape pods launched. No debris spun outward from explosions. The 5 ships simply vanished, as if the dark between stars had swallowed them whole. 3 days later, a small, unmarked probe drifted into the nearest Council outpost. It carried no weapons, no crew, only a black data cube. When the cube activated, a single human voice, calm, flat, without anger, played in every language the Council used. "You spilled blood on neutral ground. Blood answers blood." The message looped once and stopped. The outpost commander sent it straight to Aelthar Prime. Thalvor watched the playback in the Chamber of Eternal Harmony. His golden skin flickered with irritation. He ordered the cube melted down, and told the delegates it was a childish threat from a frightened species. Most nodded agreement, though a few of the younger races, those who had quietly kept trade ties with humans, shifted in their seats and said nothing. Then the outer edges began to go dark. One after another, Council listening posts supply depots, and research outposts stopped answering calls. A Virine science station on a gas giant moon sent its last report about unusual gravity ripples, then silence. A veiled colony ship, carrying philosophers to a new archive world, broadcast a single image of empty corridors before its signal cut. No distress beacons, no signs of struggle. Ships arrived later to find hulls intact, air still breathable, food untouched in galleys, but every living thing gone. Crews, scientists, guards vanished without a trace. The Council sent bigger fleets to investigate. They found the same thing over and over. Empty metal tombs drifting in the void. Panic started small, then grew. Thalvor ordered full alert. Thousands of warships gathered at rally points. Planet cracker arrays powered up on fortified worlds. Ancient weapons that could bend reality itself were taken out of storage. The elder species told themselves they were ready. They had crushed rebellions before. They had faced species far more advanced than these upstart humans. But the humans did not attack the strong places first. They did not strike at the shining core worlds or the busy trade hubs. Instead, 6 months to the day after Elena Voss fell, something appeared in the galactic halo, a region of old stars and empty space the Council had always ignored as worthless. Sensors first picked up a distortion, then a single contact. One ship. Not a fleet, just one. It was huge, black as deep space, all sharp edges and flat planes, with no bright running lights or fancy curves. Its name, when it finally broadcast, was Erebus Ascendant. It did not charge or shout challenges. It simply translated into normal space near a Cathara relay station that handled messages for 3 sectors. The relay was guarded by 12 heavy cruisers. The station commander laughed when he saw the size of the intruder. 1 ship against 12, and ordered a full salvo. Beams and missiles raced across the void. They struck the Erebus Ascendant and did almost nothing. The black hull drank the energy like water on dry ground. Shields, if they even were shields, barely flickered. Then the human ship answered. Not with 1,000 guns blazing, not with dramatic fire. A single pulse left its bow, thin and almost invisible. It touched the relay station. The entire structure folded inward like paper crushed in a fist. Metals screamed as space itself bent and collapsed the station into a ball no bigger than a house. The 12 cruisers tried to turn and run. Too late. Smaller versions of the same weapon reached out from the Erebus Ascendant. One by one, the cruisers imploded. Crews trapped inside hulls that shrank to nothing. No explosions lit the sky. No wreckage spread. Just silence again. And one more beacon left behind, repeating the same message. Blood answers blood. Word spread fast. The Council fleets that had mustered for defense now split up to hunt this single monster. They found more. Not many, but enough. Human ships appeared in places no one expected. Dark nebulae, dead systems, the cold halo where light took years to travel. Each time the pattern was the same. Appear without warning, strike with impossible precision, leave nothing behind but the message. The ships moved in perfect silence, their gravity drives whispering instead of roaring like Council engines. They coordinated without radio chatter, as if every captain shared one mind. Younger species who had never harmed humans began to pull back. Some quietly sent messages offering neutrality. Others moved their own fleets away from Council space. The old races refused to see the truth. Thalvor stood in the chamber and declared that the primitives would soon run out of tricks. He pointed to the vast numbers of Council ships, the ancient weapons, the unbreakable unity of 47 species. But the unity was cracking. Whispers filled the halls. Delegates from smaller races asked why they should die for the arrogance of the Virine and Cathara. Reports came in daily of more outposts gone, more fleets reduced to empty shells. Humans did not loot. They did not take prisoners. They simply removed what stood in their way. On a frontier world called Tarsus IV, a mixed colony of humans and Veil thinkers had once lived side by side. When Council enforcers arrived to arrest the humans there, the Veil citizens refused to help. They locked their domes and watched as the enforcers searched empty streets. The humans were already gone, lifted out by stealth shuttles the night before. The enforcers left angry and confused. That night the Veil governor sent a private message to Saul. "We never voted for the ambassador's death. We ask to be spared." The answer came back in hours. "Stay out of our path. You will be left alone." It was the first clear sign that humanity was not killing for sport. They were cutting away only those who had chosen to spill human blood. The reckoning had begun, slow and certain, like a tide that rises without hurry, but drowns everything in time. The council still believed they could win. They gathered their greatest armada at Ilthar Prime to wait for the final battle. Thalvor promised the galaxy would see human ships burn, but deep in the void, more black hulls were waking up. Shipyards that had hidden for decades now poured out vessels by the dozen. The patient years of preparation were over. The storm was no longer coming. It was here. The great armada of the Galactic Concordance gathered above Ilthar Prime like a storm cloud of metal and light. Thousands of ships filled the space around the crystal world. Virene lancers with glowing hulls, Cathara hive carriers bristling with weapons, Veil thought ships that bent light into rainbows, and countless smaller vessels from every allied species. Thalvor stood on the command balcony of the central spire, looking out through the clear dome at the fleet that represented 10,000 years of unchallenged power. He spoke to the assembled delegates in the chamber of eternal harmony below. His voice carried to every ship and every world still loyal to the council. "The primitives come at last," he said. "They will break against our walls. We will burn their black ships from the sky and remind the galaxy who keeps order." The delegates cheered, though the sound felt thinner than before. Some seats stayed empty, younger species having quietly withdrawn their support or moved their forces to neutral zones. Thalvor ignored the absences. He believed numbers and ancient weapons would win. Then the sensors screamed, not from the expected direction of the galactic core or the busy trade lanes, but from straight above, in low orbit, where nothing should appear without warning. Space tore open in a silent ripple. One ship slid through the tear. The Erebus Ascendant, bigger than any council dreadnought, its black hull swallowed starlight instead of reflecting it. No fleet followed. No swarm of fighters poured out. Just one vessel, hanging calm and still over the most sacred world in known space. Thalvor stared up through the dome, his golden skin paling. "All batteries fire," he ordered. Beams of white fire, plasma storms, gravity lances, and reality-warping pulses raced toward the intruder. They struck the Erebus Ascendant and vanished. The black ship did not glow or crack or even tilt. It absorbed everything like a deep well. Then it answered. Not with rage or fireworks. Thin lines of distortion reached out from its hull, lines that bent space the way a finger bends a sheet of paper. The nearest council cruisers folded inward. Metal groaned across light minutes as hulls collapsed into tiny spheres of compressed matter. Screams filled comm channels for seconds before they cut off. One after another, the great ships died without ever touching their target. The Armada tried to scatter, but the Erebus Ascendant moved faster than anything its size should. It jumped short distances, appearing among clusters of ships, folding them away like trash. In minutes, half the fleet was gone. No debris clouds, no burning wrecks, just empty space where proud vessels had been. Thalvor ordered the planetary shields raised. Ilthar Prime's defenses woke. Domes of force thick enough to stop stars. Orbital cannons that could crack moons. The Erebus Ascendant ignored them. It descended slowly, deliberately, until it hung directly above the council spire. Boarding pods detached from its flanks, not many, only dozens. They fell like dark rain, punching through the crystal shields as if they were glass. Alarms howled through the spire. Elite guards rushed to the landing points. Katara warriors with pulse lances, Virene honor blades glowing, Veil thinkers weaving mental barriers. The pods opened. Humans stepped out in void-black armor that drank light. They moved without shouting or wasting shots. Every step was measured, every trigger pull precise. They cut through the guards like a knife through soft cloth. No rage twisted their faces. No battle cries filled the halls. They simply advanced, removing obstacles with calm efficiency. The delegates in the chamber watched on screens as the invaders approached level by level. Some tried to flee through escape tunnels. The tunnels were already sealed. Human tech had locked them from outside. Others activated personal shields or ancient artifacts. The black-armored soldiers walked through the energy fields without slowing. Weapons the council had never seen hummed in human hands. Short pulses that turned armor to dust. Blades that cut through force barriers like air. Falvor stood at the center of the chamber floor, the same white floor where Elena Voss had bled. He raised his hands for calm. "We can negotiate," he called, as the doors blew inward. "The council offers terms." The lead human, a tall officer with gray eyes and no visible rank, removed his helmet. His face was calm, almost tired. He looked at the spot where Elena had fallen, now clean and perfect again. "Terms," he said quietly. "You murdered our ambassador here, on neutral ground, in front of the galaxy." Falvor stepped back. It was necessary. She threatened order. The officer nodded once, as if confirming a fact. "You chose blood. We return the gesture." The other soldiers fanned out. One by one the delegates died, shot cleanly, burned by focused beams, crushed under collapsed crystal. No torture, no speeches, just removal. Falvor was last. He tried to speak again, words of peace and wisdom falling from his lips. The officer raised his sidearm. "Your floor will do," he said. A single shot ended the High Arbiter. His luminous blood spilled across the white stone, bright and spreading, the same vivid color as Elena's had been. For a moment, the chamber was still. The humans stood among the bodies, without triumph or anger. Then they turned and left the way they came. Outside, the Erebus Ascendant rose again. The remaining council ships tried one last desperate attack. The Black Dreadnought answered with a single wide pulse. The armada folded inward together, compressed into a small dark sphere that drifted away on the solar wind. Aelthar Prime lay open below. No bombs fell, no cities burned. The humans took nothing. They left the world intact, but empty of its rulers. In the chamber of eternal harmony, the crimson stain stayed. No nanites cleaned it this time. It dried there as a mark, a reminder. The council that had lasted millennia was broken in hours, not by overwhelming numbers, but by one ship and a promise kept. The fall of Aelthar Prime was not loud. It was quiet, final, and complete. The old order ended on the same floor where it had murdered its future. And the galaxy watched in silence as humanity walked away, leaving consequence in their wake. The fall of Aelthar Prime did not end with fire and ruin. It ended with silence that spread like frost across the stars. The great fleets of the Galactic Concordance, once feared from one edge of the galaxy to the other, were gone in days. What remained drifted as empty shells, crews removed without a fight, weapons cold, lights dim. Human ships moved through council space the way a surgeon moves through flesh, precise, without waste, without mercy for what had to be cut away. They did not bomb cities or poison worlds. They isolated them. Supply lines snapped. Relay stations folded into nothing. communication arrays vanished. One by one, the elder species found their home systems cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Messages went unanswered. Ships sent to ask for help never returned. Younger races who had never voted to kill Elena Voss received different treatment. Human commanders broadcast clear terms in open channels. Stay neutral, do not aid the old council, and no harm will come. Many listened. The insectoid Cathara tried to fight longest. Their hive world sent wave after wave of warriors in desperate defense. Human forces answered with boarding teams that moved through hive tunnels like shadows, sealing chambers, shutting down brood chambers with gas that put queens to sleep instead of killing them. When the hive surrendered, the humans left the young alive and took only the leaders who had ordered the enforcer to fire on Elena. The Virene, proud and luminous, refused surrender until their shining cities stood dark under blocked suns. Their ancient libraries burned, not by human hands, but by their own panicked nobles who feared the knowledge falling into primitive hands. Humans waited outside the system, patient, until the last resistance died of starvation and despair. The Veil thinkers, soft and floating, chose wisdom over pride. They sent envoys early, offering records of the council vote that killed Elena. The humans accepted the records, thanked them, and moved on without touching Veil space. Word spread through the remaining worlds. Humanity did not seek slaves or territory. They sought only one thing: to make sure no council could ever again spill human blood on neutral ground and call it justice. On the scattered colonies of the old races, populations shrank. Some fled to join neutral zones. Others stayed and watched their once mighty ships rust in orbit. Birth rates fell. Hope faded. The elder species, who had lived for millennia, began to understand extinction not as sudden death, but as slow fading. No grand last stand, no heroic songs, just the quiet realization that their time was over. In the months that followed, human fleets grew from the hidden shipyards that had waited so long. They numbered in the thousands now, black, angular, unstoppable. Yet they did not conquer for glory. They redrew maps. Systems once ruled by the council became open zones. Trade resumed under new rules. No one species above another. No probation periods, no observer status that meant nothing. Younger races joined willingly. Some even sent their own ships to serve beside human vessels, learning the new way of things. Earth did not become the new capital. No single world claimed the throne. Instead, a loose alliance formed, the Sol Concord, where decisions came from councils that included every species that kept its hands clean of that first murder. Old grudges were not forgotten, but they were not fed. The past was a lesson, not a chain. On the rebuilt Elthar Prime, now renamed Terra Secundus, the crystal spires still stood, though many were empty. The Chamber of Eternal Harmony was left as it was after the fall. No cleaners touched the crimson stain on the white floor. It dried there, dark and permanent, a mark no nanites could erase, because humans had ordered the system shut down. Above the stain, a single banner hung. Simple red cloth with white letters in basic trade tongue and every major language. The day they shed human blood, they sealed their own extinction. Pilgrims came to see it. Human children on school trips, alien diplomats on first visits, young soldiers who had never seen the old wars. They stood in silence and looked at the spot where Elena Voss fell, then at the banner. No one cheered. No one wept loudly. They simply nodded, as if understanding something deep and final. The galaxy changed without fanfare. Trade flowed again, but fairer. Exploration opened to all who asked. Wars became rare, because the cost was now known. Humanity did not rule with iron or fear. They ruled with the memory of patience ended. They had waited 2 centuries to be accepted, waited 6 months after the murder to strike, and when they struck, they finished what needed finishing. The old council was not mourned. Its name became a warning told to children. Do not spill innocent blood and think it small. The primitives had not been primitives at all. They had been patient. And patience, when it breaks, does not forgive. On quiet nights in new colonies, people sometimes looked at the stars and remembered the ambassador who stood alone and spoke truth. Her death had not been the end of hope. It had been the spark that lit a fire no one could put out. The galaxy turned on, brighter in some places, quieter in others, but forever marked by the day arrogance met consequence. Humanity moved forward, not as conquerors shouting their name, but as the ones who had waited, then acted, and in acting, changed everything. The old order was gone, a new one rose, and in the silence after the storm, the stars themselves seemed to breathe easier.